then, so today I'm joined by a rather unusual oddity and also a bottle of Adnams.
I appreciate that.
So I'm joined by Ross, the local Edinburgh whisky enthusiast, and we have a 7-year-old bottling of Adnams, an English single malt.
How exciting.
I know, it is exciting, yeah.
This is new for me.
Yeah.
I've had English single malt. I've never had Adnams.
Okay, what English single malts have you had?
Well, I had Bimber's quite popular down in
Yeah.
London. I think the Lakes Distillery do quite well. They've been at a few of the whisky festivals and such in Edinburgh.
Yep.
They've got quite a portfolio of whiskies now, playing with port casks and such.
Sure.
In theory, it shouldn't be too different, right? The water's the same. Often made by Scotsmen down in England.
I mean, they'd be clueless without us.
Well, what can you do? But really interesting. Master of Malt, I know well. I'm sure you're familiar with Master of Malt. They're really good because of the little miniatures you can get. One's fantastic is, you know, they're one of the only people I know that will decant everything they get in so you can have a little taste of them. But I honestly have never heard of this distillery, which is exciting.
It is, yeah. I think it's lovely coming into whiskey without any preconceptions.
Absolutely.
Like whenever we try an Ardbeg, we're chomping at the bit to talk about seaweed and iodine
100%.
and Macallan. We want to talk about, you know, branding and sherry and whatever.
We might be about to fall in love with this whiskey.
This could be the greatest whiskey I've ever tried.
Well,
who knows?
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping.
Well, do you know,
I mean,
I feel quite unusual about it, but to be honest,
we've built this up too greatly, I think. But English whiskey is great. The last few months I've managed to try a few different ones. I think the thing I like about English whiskey is that for now, in 2023, all the distilleries are independent. Yeah. So they all do their own thing, they've all got their own ethos, and they're all big on, you know, natural colour and not adding, you know, chill filtration and stuff, which means you get a really good spirit. Does mean you get a lot of 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old whiskey, but if you're using good casks and the spirit's of a good quality, it's not
100%.
Not an issue.
Malt whiskey is cheap to make, but it's all about the patience, isn't it? That's the advantage we've got. I just see an independent bottling as well. I mean, I don't know, independent bottlings for me, if you look at probably 80% of what I have in my apartment, independent bottlings.
Yeah.
For what I'm actually drinking, independent bottlings.
Is that because it's kind of, they're a bit more experimental, or just because they're cheaper?
Well, value for money. I am horrifically Scottish. I mean, there's going to be some frugalness there for sure. But I think the beautiful inconsistency of independent bottling. I like the idea of getting a bottle of a distillery that I would not necessarily go for and going, that's a brilliant cask. This doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to like Adnams. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to like French oak, but it means that this cask was exceptional. It's essentially, I mean, you'd think this has been hand-picked most likely as one of 82 bottles. Yeah. Quite unusual. So maybe they've separated, maybe the rest of this is still maturing. Or maybe it's in wee octaves. I mean, I don't, you know,
it's, in a way it's great, but in a way it's like if we taste this and it's horrific, it would be foolish of us to disregard the entire distillery output. The entire region of England it'd be foolish for us to.
I suspect if this is fantastic, Adnams will be signing us up because so far we're very hopeful. So I'm really interested to try it. With French oak whiskies, you had a lot of French oak whiskies?
A couple, yeah. It kind of gives it just a bit more oomph.
A bit more body to it.
Yeah.
In theory, why not use French oak? We use Spanish oak, we use all the rest. It's I had a Scottish oak tasting and found that virgin oak from Scotland had similar properties to some French oaks. So although we don't know which French oak this is, let's say it's something like Limousin oak. Yep. Amazing. I've had whiskies, even like a Jura cask sampling, not one of my favourite distilleries, but I had that and it was like cola cubes. So we can hope that maybe that influenced that cask and help Adnams.
If French oak can save Jura, then it's
maybe
a magical property.
Well, and Adnams might already be fantastic, but you know, be interesting to try.
Yeah, very, very intriguing. So let's open this up and see.
I'm a little nervous now.
I feel this was a very elaborate intro. I think this will never be repeated.
Well, if it's good, then it'll be brilliant.
It's worth it. Right, let's get the cork off this. Yeah, lovely colour to this one. Does French oak, in your experience, contribute a lot of colour?
Again, when it says French oak, I suspect it'll mean French virgin oak. So you're going to expect quite a dramatic increase in colour. Probably quite a heavy char on the wood as well.
Yeah.
49.1% European oak. Great. And it doesn't. I'm not sure if it's natural colour. I didn't say it's natural colour, but it's independent bottling, so you'd think so.
You'd hope so. Yeah.
Okay, let's give it a go.
Yeah, no, lovely colour for a 7-year-old whiskey.
You've got to judge these things in context. Try new distilleries. There's lots of new distilleries, and you try a whiskey that's 3 years old. You can't judge it against the 30-year-old you had previously. You have to be realistic. But so let's hope this is a really good 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Slàinte. Shall we say cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, what?
The noses.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's not... Yeah, I feel like on the nose, my expectations of youngish whiskey is always quite low. But this smells quite appealing.
There's sweetness, certainly. There's definitely sweetness. Perhaps an optimistic kind of toffee.
Yeah. Kind of like burnt sugar, kind of very...
Almost like a kind of, you get the artificial whiskey fudge. It's not too far away. And it's a compliment to it. Okay.
It's like being in a tourist shop.
Remains in Patterson's, perhaps.
Yeah, it's the flagship store, actually.
Well, I believe you're an ambassador, yeah.
I am. I do love Remains of Patterson's. I was going to say, let's give this a try, but you're one step ahead. I'll catch up. It's good.
That's bloody good.
Bloody good. Yeah.
That is good.
Why is it good?
Way more vanilla of the initial. It didn't get it on the nose. Sweet. I don't think it's particularly complex. I think it's quite simple. But I like it. Yeah. It reminds me, I drink lots of bourbon as well, which will be generally 2 to 7 years old, generally in virgin oak.
Yep.
I think that's quite nice. It's quite grainy. It's quite...
Yeah, it's the sort of one, I like a whiskey where, I know, like we've done videos with Charlie McLean before, and he says single malts, that's like work for him. But he was like, like blends, or maybe the occasional bourbon. He was like, that's what he drinks for pleasure. He was like, I don't want something that's too demanding, that's too intense, it's too complex. I just want something that's tasty. I can sip away at it.
You don't have to think about it. You don't have to sit down and overanalyze it. Well, I suppose that's kind of what we're doing. But you could pour a very big glass of that and be quite happy. I am very impressed.
Yeah.
Adnams.
Yeah, it feels like quite a flexible dram as well. So, a couple of blocks of ice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Play about with it.
Take it for what it's worth. It's something that's, again, this is a one-off. I think have it on the rocks or have it as it is in a slightly bigger pour. I think you'd be quite happy with that. But it does remind me of grain whiskey, bourbon. It's got that vanilla. Yeah. It's got a very, sweet body to it. Yeah. Texture is good as well. 7 years old. I don't think it's overly sharp.
No, it's got... Yeah, I feel like 7 years has been enough. I don't feel... Yeah. Was it what we at? 49%? Is that what we said? Like, it's not too much. I think if it was less than that, it'd be a bit simple, and you probably could drink too much of it. Yeah. But I feel, at that strength, it gives it a bit of oomph, bit of character. And forces you to take it.
I think the fact that Master of Malt bottled it as well gives them a kind of the reputation of Master of Malt, putting their name behind it as well. Yeah. Would reassure you that it's going to be decent. Yeah. I think the reality is that although we're very unsure because I've not heard of the distillery, actually when you think about it, Master of Malt have bottled it. It's going to have integrity. It's going to be interesting, and they've obviously picked the cask for a reason.
Absolutely. Adnams as a whole, obviously they've got a great brewing history going back 150 years. Yeah. They're not going to release below par whiskey before it's ready.
I think it's a really good example of French oak.
Yeah, and English whiskey as well.
Absolutely.
How do you feel this compares with, the Bimber and Lakes they've had before?
Again, this is probably far more reasonably priced than Bimber, so it's hard to say, but Central London distillery, I think it loses a wee bit of the heart of
it's very collectible as well, Bimber, which I think...
that's the market they're going for, but you think of the Lakes distillery, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's just like Scotland, dare we say, fresh water, rolling hills. It's a perfect place to put a distillery. And I think they're looking for that kind of style. Whereas the idea of central London is a little bit, misses the story for me. But this year, I think, is right up there as one of the best English single malts I've had.
Yeah. Probably the best Adnams you've ever tried.
Definitely the best Adnams I've ever had. It is the worst Adnams I've ever had.
Oh, never mind.
But no, really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely drop. And I think, it's a nice, as you say, demonstration of what French oak is about.
I keep drinking it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Can't stop you. You're an animal.
Yeah, I keep drinking it, which I think is a compliment to it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Something new.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Yeah,
if you got any left. Cheers.